Hello, and welcome to another presentation. This presentation is not dealing directly with legal issues. However, it does address wills, powers of attorney, healthcare directives, and trusts. I'm offering a service for professional document preparation across Canada. I will be doing a version again for the UK. However, the laws from province to province and from country to country change. So for the moment, I'm only dealing with Canada, excluding Quebec because they have different rules. These documents matter most when you can no longer explain yourself. Health decisions, financial continuity, and family clarity. With respect to health decisions, advanced healthcare planning helps the trusted decision makers to follow your treatment wishes when you can no longer speak for yourself. You could be in a car accident, you could have a coma, you could have a stroke. If these documents are not drafted previously and signed and executed correctly, nobody will make the decision for you other than the government, and they may not make the decision that you want. Financial continuity, on the other hand, is a power of attorney that's for someone that you trust to manage your bills and accounts and property if illness and injury affect your ability to make these decisions yourself. Again, you might be in a hospital or you may have passed away. So you want somebody that knows what your trusts and what your wishes are prior to that event taking place. And for family clarity, clear instructions reduce uncertainty and lower conflict between family members and help loved ones act with confidence under pressure. So we would like to make sure that these documents are done well in advance of you having any potential problems. What can go wrong without planning? When health issues first strike, family members may be forced to make treatment decisions without knowing your wishes. One example may be leg amputation. Maybe you don't want that. Lack of written planning increases stress, uncertainty, and conflict in the worst possible time, and there may in fact be conflict between what you say and what family members say. If there's no directive as to who's in charge, we now have a huge problem. Written instructions make it much easier for others to follow your decisions that you would have made if you were allowed to do so, and therefore the decisions you want respected. When legal or financial issues happen, without a power of attorney, even close family members may struggle to manage your accounts, property, and ongoing bills. Without a valid will, default estate rules may determine who inherits and who administers the estate, and your property may in fact go into probate, which can cause a huge financial expense. Missing or outdated beneficiary designations can send assets somewhere you never intended. They could even send them to an ex-partner, your former wife or husband. So better make sure that these documents are up to date to avoid any potential risks going down the line. Core document preparation services. Last will and testament sets out who inherits what, who acts as an executor, and who and how your estate is handled. Advanced Healthcare Directive records treatment wishes, end-of-life instructions before incapacity or accident occurs. Beneficiary designation coordinates RRSPs, RRIF, TFSA, insurance, pensions, and segregated funds forms. So if you have an investment, who's the beneficiary? A power of attorney for property appoints someone to manage the financial matters if you become unable to do so yourself. A personal directive names a trusted person for personal and healthcare decisions where your province issues this form. Trust documents support the basic trust structure and minor beneficiary planning in suitable cases. These documents are not one of and one solves everything. These documents should be used collectively in layers to protect you to the fullest extent possible. Some assets pass outside a will. RRSPs, RRIFs, TFSAs, and pensions insurance can pass directly to a named beneficiary, which means those assets may bypass the will and the estate. If done correctly, the inheriting party may or may not pay taxes. Properly designations can help beneficiaries receive funds faster and may reduce estate administration friction on assets that stay outside the estate. The risk that these outdated designations can conflict with your broader estate intentions is a real good reason to make sure that this is dealt with properly. If these documents are not prepared or not prepared correctly, it can cause huge delays. It may disclose private information to unwanted parties. It will cause extra costs, and it will cloud clarity. How the service works. I'm offering a service that will identify you within your province and the documents you need. We will complete an intake form, a checklist rather, that gathers names, roles, assets, and health or financial wishes. I will draft the documents using the appropriate terminology and structure for the province that you live in, and then you will receive the revisions, if there is any, and practical instructions for executing within your province. You will most likely need 2 witnesses to sign or witness the document. Because provinces use different forms and terminologies, these documents will need to be prepared for the province where you live. The only province I don't deal with currently is Quebec, because they have a totally different structure system. Suggested service rates. Last will and testament is one document. Advanced healthcare directive and a living will would be a separate document. Power of attorney for property would be another document. Personal directive is another document. And beneficiary and designation assistance is another document. Those are the conventional documents that a person would use. If a person wishes to go further, then you'd have basic trust documents, such as a will, power of attorney directive package, couples and minor documents, and a complex file. Complex file would be if you have a business or multi-layered structuring, which gets into a different area of trusts. Pricing reflects document preparation, support drafting assistance. Complete tax, business, and blended family or litigation sensitive matters should be reviewed by a lawyer in the relevant province. Do the planning while you still have choices. Advanced planning helps ensure your wishes are known, your documents are coordinated, and your family is not left guessing when life changes suddenly. Services offered. A last will and testament will start at $150. Advanced healthcare directive living will from $120. Power of attorney for property from $150. Personal directive and healthcare POA from $120. Beneficiary designation forms $80 per plan. Basic simple trust documents from $250. These documents should actually be prepared as a package, because if you're missing one, then you have a problem. For an example, last will and testament from $150, okay. If you have that document, but you have nobody as a power of attorney to direct the last will and testament, you're going to have a problem. And then you have to have a beneficiary designation form for overriding previous documents and or potentially pointing out beneficiaries. If there is a last will and testament and there's a beneficiary designation document, the beneficiary designation document generally takes precedence. If you have no power of attorney when you're trying to complete your last will and testament, you're going to have a problem, because nobody's in charge of the property, and if you want to sell that property and split the proceeds amongst the children, or sell the property to finance a business if you're the only sole beneficiary or the last survivor or the only child, you again may have a problem. If you're doing bundle pricing, such as husband and wife, there is a discount. I hope you found this information useful. And if you don't have a power of attorney or the last will and testament documents drafted, I would strongly suggest you do so, because without these documents that are outlined on this screen, the government will designate what happens, and you will end up with a property and or potential assets going into probate. This is what we want to avoid. Working People Press is a separate setup from my conventional email address, because I will be releasing a series of books, which I have mentioned before, and all that paperwork, books, consultations, seminars, and one-on-one interviews will now be done through Working People Press. I hope you found this information useful. If you have any questions or wish to enlist my services, please use the email address workingpeoplepress@proton.me. It's a private email. Google and a couple of the other larger email providers have been involved in lawsuits, and considering we are dealing with very sensitive and private matters, I try to select the private email system of proton.me. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I look forward to helping you. I hope you found this short presentation useful. Thank you, and have a great day.